Welcome to Hindsight Hacking. I'm Corey Carter.
And I'm Ron Poole.
Let's get it started.
On this podcast, we've hacked hundreds of entrepreneurs' hindsight to help you, the listener, with better foresight. Now, guys, if you want to know all about what we can do to help you focus on being you, head over to gethhm.com. Keep pushing through those ups and downs that we all will have.
We're still going to have amazing conversations with amazing people. Hindsight hacking boils down to amazing conversations with some amazing people. This is Elite U.S. Woman of Achievement. Alicia is the founder and CEO of Alicia Couri Inc.com, a boutique consulting firm specializing in developing audaciously proactive leaders and teams using brain science and people data. Yes, I know that's a mouthful, but I'm going to keep going because as the Red Carpet CEO, Alicia produces and hosts a nationally syndicated podcast, Leading with Audacious Confidence, and 2 other web shows, Small Business, Saturday Shout Out, and Love My Body, Love Myself. Alicia is an author of multiple books, a speaker and actor who coaches leaders and has them show up more powerfully, if I can keep going. All right. First of all, thanks and welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. I know it is a mouthful.
It is, but like we had a phenomenal conversation last time we spoke. That's where we had to have you on our show. But before we get too far down the road, why don't you take a moment to just tell everybody a little bit more about you?
Sure. So I think, first of all, I'm the Audacious Confidence Growth Expert because you teach or you show up as the person that you were not. And after you've grown, you kind of now want to teach people how to do. So I really had challenges with my own self-confidence for a very long time in my life, for most of my adulthood. And so one of the interesting things is, number one, I didn't think I had a story. Everybody has all these magnificent stories. I'm like, I don't have a story. But every time I tell people, I was born in Trinidad and I grew up in Australia, they're like, what? So that kind of made me realize, okay, so I do have a story. I have something of interest. And so coming through my journey of being impacted by just that part of my life really impacted me and affected me in a way I did not even have a conscious awareness of in my adulthood. And by going back and unpacking all of that, I recognized where my low self-esteem, low confidence, not wanting to show up or speak out or, trying to stay invisible, and where all of that came from. So that's a little bit about my backstory.
So as you go through, that low confidence to teaching people how to be confident, I know there's, a series of events and years of steps that it takes to truly get there. But was there one defining moment that you can share a story of that truly took you from, oh my gosh, like I've come a long way, like I have truly changed and now I can go help others? Is there one good story that goes with that?
A defining story that's a great question, because there are, like you said, there are multiple defining moments that took me through there. I remember when I was being coached. So this was kind of the opening up of everything for me is finally getting a coach. And she turned to me one time and said, you're a speaker and you need to be on stages. You need to be out there speaking. And I was like, no, I don't know where you see that or where you get that from. There's no way I am stepping on a stage in front of everybody. And she kept saying that to me over and over. And I think it's so important to have someone in your life that sees beyond, not just sees your potential, but sees beyond your potential because you sometimes where you are, you can't even believe what somebody is saying about you. And it's not just somebody seeing, all right, yes, you're amazing, you're great, you can do so many things. It's someone who will continue to push that in you and say, nope, you have a powerful message. You have a strong, powerful voice. You need to be on stage speaking to people. I think that was one of those moments that I had to make. That was a defining moment because I had to make a decision. Am I going to stay the way I am, or am I going to step into the possibility and own that and shift how I see myself, how I approach, how I do everything? Am I willing to make that decision to step into that? Because I would have to shift so many things to be that. And that's a huge moment, because when I made that decision, yes, I'm a speaker, everything that I had to do from that moment on had to change the way I saw myself, the way I stepped out and stood out, the way I looked at my nerves when I had to speak in front of people, because you couldn't get me to talk in front of people. I was so nervous. How I had to now reframe everything to be able to do that. And see, that's what I love to see with people when they have to make that shift, and helping them make that shift, because you have to change your entire mindset and reframe so many things in order to do that.
Oh my gosh, that is so good. I mean, it's 100%. You have to live what you think you're going to be, right? So I was going to ask something else, but as you were talking, I was like, I got to ask this. So as you're shifting and as you're becoming who you're called to be, there's people around you that are like, I know you. Mm-hmm. I know you. Like, that is not you. How'd you deal with that?
I got away from all of them. Because, the thing is, again, being an immigrant to the United States, I was the only one in my family that actually moved up here. And so it's really just my immediate family, like my husband and my children, and that were around me all the time. So people who have known me kind of always saw the potential in me, but I couldn't see it in myself. So once I made the shift, there was so much of the, oh my gosh, you inspire us. Oh my goodness. I didn't really get the backlash of who do you think you are? Because I was away from people that knew me when I was not confident, when I was kind of the wallflower and stuck in my shell. So I got to reinvent myself the way I wanted to, without the judgment really. I mean, the judgment was in my head of what everybody, when I was going to post stuff on social media, I'm like, what are they going to think? What are they going to say? All of that was still there. But then, and then, like you're saying, as I called myself audaciously confident, I had to now step into what
right. You had to be who you were.
Scary. It's a scary thing in of itself, and I have to keep pushing myself to show up in the definition, because I created my own definition of audacious confidence, and I had to continue to push myself into that definition to show up for that, so that I don't feel like a fraud.
Love that. All right. So first of all, it's so amazing, that people can change. People can choose their own path, and all of us have the opportunity to do so every single day, right? Like, we can choose to be upset, or we can choose to be excited and happy, or whatever it might be. We get the choice, but it's often forgotten, and it's often, that who do you think you are comment that you started with, you and Ron were talking about. Like, it's so crazy. And I think about past friends, and I think about just all these people, and when Ron and I went and started this business, they're like, you doing what? You haven't been doing that for, and all of a sudden you're doing this. And it just goes back to, you are basically who you surround yourself with, right? Like you're the product of the 5 closest people you surround yourself with. And did you find, as you were like embracing this new venture, this direction in your life, did you find that the 5 people you had to surround yourself with were moving or different?
They're always shifting. It's always shifting. I remember so my first coach was a personal branding coach. And I remember when I was making that transition from being a beauty professional and being the doer, the technician in my business instead of being the leader in my business. And I was creating who I was going to step into as a speaker and an author and all these other things that you mentioned in my bio. My name is Alicia Couri. So that's AC. So my logo, which is behind me, is the AC. And I was trying to see, how can I brand that? And since confidence was one of the things that I stepped out to kind of reclaim my confidence, I thought, what is an A word that I can attach to that, right? And so I was going through different A words to kind of be on brand, and the word audacious came out. And at first it was such a prickly word to me. It was like, oh, no, I can't be audacious. Are you crazy? And I remember asking someone in my close circle from that coaching program, and I asked her about that word, audacious. And she's like, oh, no, you're not audacious at all. There's no way. Because there was such a negative connotation that she was seeing in the word audacious. And I had to really sit with that, because that kind of it hit me. I'm like, well, I don't know what other word I can use then, because I can't, if you don't see me as audacious, what am I? Mm-hmm. And I had to sit with that word audacious and really define what that meant for me, so that I can claim it. Right. And so when you look at the 5 people, and as you evolve, you start meeting other people. And I always seek to be around people who are like, I don't want to be the smartest one in the room. I want to be the dumbest one in the room. So I always seek people who know more than me, who are at a higher level than me, and kind of like, may I step into your, sphere and be influenced by you. And so definitely it shifts and it changes for me, because I'm always looking to grow into bigger and better things. If I see someone that's doing more than I am, I'm like, oh my goodness, how are you doing that? Can we talk? Can we, and build relationships that way?
No, I think that's huge.
I hope that answered the question. I don't know.
Yeah, no, it was perfect. It was perfect. I mean, that's the beauty of like self-improvement right there. What you just said is, so many people want to be the smartest person in the room. So many people want to be the go-to person, but that limits who you can be, who you're called to be, and how smart you can become, right? Mm-hmm. And what value you can add to other people, right? So absolutely. I think that's huge. So as you found this new thing, because my wife and I were just having this conversation about our kids, because we were like, okay, how do we get them to break the cycles of stuff we've kind of gone through by teaching them stuff at a young age? Do you find yourself like pouring into your kids like the stuff that you're teaching adults, or not yet?
I try. But the thing is, your children are your children, and
listen,
they you're not the smartest one in the room. Let's just say that.
Right. Oh yeah, I know.
You're not the smartest one in the room.
Yeah.
And I realize that who I am and how I am now is loud for them. It seems loud, So while I'm they're influencing people on a grander scale in a bigger way, they don't want that, so when they come to ask my opinion of stuff, I really have to think about how I respond to them, because how I respond to them,
right?
Because I'm mom, right. And how I direct that conversation is different to the way I would direct a client or someone else that is paying me to give them the,
the rah-rah, right. No, I understand.
So yeah. And a lot of times we have to step back and let them learn certain things that we've been trying to tell them forever.
Mm-hmm.
And then be the one back there, not saying I told you so, but, just coaching them in a different way. So, parenthood is a very different experience.
Right. No, trust me, we both know.
Yeah.
Yep. I've been coaching my son's baseball team since he was 7. And we just hired a kind of a personal coach recently that it took this guy probably an hour working with my son for him to realize things I've been saying for the last 5 years. And I'm like, why haven't you? I've been trying to get you to do this. It's so crazy how you don't
because you're dad. That's the problem.
Yeah,
they just look at you and you're like, oh, you're dad.
Yeah. Know nothing.
My friend Steffi knows more than you. Okay.
Yeah.
She's in third grade. Enjoy that.
And the one thing I have done is I've completely removed my ego from, I'm mom, listen to me. And because I always have told my children, if you will learn it from somebody else, something I've been saying, please just learn it.
Just learn it.
Just learn it.
That's right.
It doesn't have to necessarily come from me, but I want you to be able to grow and flourish. So
right. Love it.
Well, on this show, we love podcasts. We love talking podcasts. So I wanted to talk about your show and your 2 web shows and just kind of your thoughts behind that. But first and foremost, Leading with Audacious Confidence, the podcast. Tell us about that. Looks like you've been doing it since late 2020, so about a year now. But yeah, tell us about that show and hopefully there's some things that you love about doing it.
Sure. Yeah. I did. It was in, I don't even remember dates now, right? The pandemic, everything is.
It's always Tuesday is what I've learned.
It's always Tuesday.
It's always Tuesday. Okay. I got you. I started that in 2019, I think, or 20. And it was really to talk to leaders about their journey to becoming the leader in their business. Like, what was that confidence journey like? Did you start off like, yes, I'm going to kill it? Or, did you have bumps along the way? And what were those bumps? And did your confidence take a hit? How did you rebuild it? So I really enjoy hearing people who are, in these big leadership roles talk about that journey to becoming a leader. And then that's been on hiatus for a little bit, only because I started these other 2 web shows. And, if I could work 24 hours, I would, because I enjoy doing what I do, but I can't, so you have to make decisions and choices. So I will be redoing some more. Recording some more of those podcasts coming up in 2022.
Love it. And I'm sure it's a ton of value. And I'm going to go completely on topic because Couri hates when I switch topics, but I'm going to go pure on topic.
Are you scrolling from me?
I'm not scrolling at all, Couri, like whatsoever. And if you're not watching on YouTube, then you have a problem. Is that a crown behind you?
It is a crown behind my crown and sash. Yeah.
That looks amazing.
It is huge.
Yeah, well, I was sitting there. I was like, "There's no way that's a crown," but it's one of like your winner's crown, right?
Yeah, that's the crown. So beautiful. Thank you. Back in 2019, I entered a pageant. It was the first pageant I'd ever done in my life, and it's a funny story with that because the pageant director had asked me back in someone asked me in 2016 to do the pageant and I said no. And then I met the pageant director in 2017 and she said, why don't you come do the pageant? I said no. 2018, I said no. And then 2019 came around. They gave me an award, And she asked me again, and she kept asking me. Like in May, she asked me. In June, she asked me. In July of 2019, she asked me. Until finally, I had to stop and ask myself, why do I keep saying no to this?
Right.
Because it keeps coming back to me. Right. Why am I saying no? Mm-hmm. And I do have 7 steps to audacious confidence. And so I actually walked myself through my own 7 steps to make that decision. You know, sometimes people look at you and they think, oh, you've arrived, you know, you're super confident. No, you know, your confidence goes like this, but it's in having the tools that when it's down here to bring it back up. So I walked myself through my own system to realize one of my steps is resistance. It's like, what are you resisting? If this keeps coming back into your life and you keep saying no, where's the resistance in that? And I realized that I didn't want to be judged, and judged on 2 planes, you know, judged by my peers, my business, you know, like I'm a businesswoman. What do people think if I go into a pageant? So it was like this judgment of people around me, you know, people at church, what are they going to think? They think I'm shallow or what? So that was one resistance. And then the second resistance is actually being judged, like standing on a stage and being judged by a panel of judges.
Right.
You know, tell me whether I'm good enough to wear a crown. I'm like, I don't need that. I know I'm awesome. I know I'm audacious. I'm a queen in my own mind. All those things.
Right, exactly.
It's so ridiculous. You know, we make up all these things that help us. We make up all these stories in our head to make us feel good, but it's holding us back, right? So telling myself I'm a queen in my own mind was one of those things that, you know, it was a fear factor. It was a resistance. And once I got over that and I realized, oh, well, it doesn't matter whether they judge you fit to win or not, because it's all subjective. So whether you win or not, if you show up as the boldest, most authentic, most audacious you, who cares?
Right.
So go for it. So I decided to sign up. I went to the pageant and I came home with the crown.
Boom.
Crazy. Amazing. So that's so incredible. Like the fact that you took away the ability for it to, for someone else judging you, the subjective aspect, you took that away. And I guarantee you, every single judge felt that and they wanted it back. They wanted that control.
They wanted the control back. Exactly.
Let you win, not let you, but you did all the stuff to earn it. But you know what I mean? Like, I'm just trying to think, like, as a judge, those people, they have that control over so many, and they
love it.
Live and die by it.
Yourself. They love that.
You owned it. That's just so
I had so much fun, and I was there to support everybody. So I did one of my shows on Love My Body, Love Myself. I had one of the contestants that was there, one of the delegates that was there. She and I are short. She's a little shorter than I am. And she had to walk next to someone who was like 5'11" or something, like Glamazon, right? Right. She's like, oh my God, I don't know what I'm going to do. And I said, listen, I have a pair of platform shoes. I'm going to lend you my shoes. All right. So I learned, because it wasn't competition for me at that point. It was, let me see who I can support. Let me have the best time. Let me meet some amazing women and let's just have a great time at this. And there's a part of the pageant where, we all have to do panel interviews. So we all have to sit in the panel of judges and they ask us a bunch of questions. And I tell you, so many women were so nervous about sitting down to that panel interview. And I just turned to them and I said, why are you nervous about being asked something about yourself? Like, you more than anybody else knows you. So they can't ask you questions about me. That's not going to be a trick question. So relax, enjoy the moment, and just let them get a sense of who you are. That's all you have to do. So I was in there coaching people.
Well, and they were probably worried more about, well, is it the right answer in the judge's eyes, less about just being real. And
I couldn't care less. I'm like, I could care less what they're thinking they want to hear.
Right.
I'm like, you ask me a question, I'm going to tell you the answer. If I don't know, I'll tell you I don't know. And I think that came across.
That made the difference, right? Because that goes back to the confidence piece, right? Because you're confident, so you're going to just say it how it is. The other people weren't as confident.
They're trying to make something up to sound
it has to sound good, right? So the judges go, "Oh my gosh, she's amazing," right? So I think that's another piece that you killed. But I want to go back to, you walked yourself through your own process. Right? That's amazing as a coach. Couri and I are coaches. And if we would just listen to ourselves on the advice that we give, we would probably do much better on things, right? So I think, I want to call out kudos to you for actually going, hey, I know how to solve this. Like, let me just use my own thing.
Methodology. Let me just use my own thing. Eat my own dog food, like they say. Eat your own dog, eat your own. Yeah. Did
you, so when you approached that and you came to the realization, I'm going to use these steps, did you disconnect yourself from the steps, like making it so it's not yours? Or did you just say, hey, it's mine, I'm going to own it, let's go?
I only realized it in retrospect.
Oh, okay.
I realized that I did that in retrospect. Like after making the decision to do the pageant, I realized, wait a second. I just I went through, because there's 7 steps, but they're not in any particular order. So it's knowing yourself, loving yourself. It's what's your passion and your purpose. It's identifying your spiritual tags, practice, your alter ego, your resistances, and saying yes and saying no, learning how to say yes and how to say no. So I think that was 7 that I said. I think that's the 7. And so I walked through, I know me and I do love me. So what are those things and those elements that I could bring to highlight, to really make me shine? Right. What is my passion and purpose? It's helping women step into their own audacious confidence. So that was my platform. That's what I showed up to share with others. I practiced my speech that I had to give and all those things. And my alter ego was a beauty queen anyway. So I just stepped into my alter ego. I'm stepping into my alter ego. I didn't have to create it. I already had it. Right. I worked through my resistance. I know what my talents, assets, gifts, and skills are. That's your tags. I know what all those things are. So I know what I could bring to the table. And then I was saying no to something and I realized why I was saying no. And then I had to turn that around and say yes. So I just in retrospect realized, I walked myself through all those things and made the decision to do that. And then I gave a talk about it.
Right. I loved it.
So good. All right. So before we kind of really dive into some of your business that you're doing, you're very, very public in regards to, you've got multiple books that you've written. You have multiple shows via either the web shows or the podcast. You're on YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook, right? Like, you're very present in the platforms for everyone. So my question to you is, why are you out there? What does it do for you and your business? Because Ron and I, we try to be as omnipresent as possible for ourselves and our business, and we understand that, but I'd love to hear it from you, kind of like, what's your thought process when it comes to coming on shows and being interviewed and running your own shows and being all on all the social platforms? Like, how does that really truly help you and your business?
I don't know yet. I just know that in this world, in this marketplace, you have to be visible. And I really wish I could say I had a really great strategy about it, because I do multiple things. On LinkedIn, I try to focus more on the business leaders that I want to talk to. on Instagram, I'm a little bit more fun, and on Facebook, you could get to see more of my personality, because I also have these web shows that I want to impact people. So it's just a matter of using the tools and the medium to connect in different places, in different ways where people are. So I find that I need to be visible in these places, and it's not always the easiest thing, because I do have a tendency to shrink back when things get to be a little overwhelming. And I've noticed that in myself recently, that I have been kind of avoiding, because I'm on live twice a week, and I'm like, I feel like it's too much. I just need a break, because I'm supposed to be doing more, right? We have this idea that you need to be doing more. And sometimes I just need to shrink back a little bit and take time for myself, but know as well, I do have to be, I have to continue to be visible. And another part of that is I've spent so long in my life being invisible that I feel it's my obligation to help people, or show people that it's okay to be visible. When I started out on Facebook, I remember people used to say things like, "Oh, you got to be careful. You don't want too many people to know anything about you. You don't want to, you don't want to be out there too much." And I took that on as, yeah, I have to really be careful. But now it's more like, you know what? If I'm out there doing good in the world and really trying to do my best, if someone comes after me for that, that's on them. And there's no such thing as bad press or bad, if someone tries to troll me on social media, and people have trolled me on social media, I get to see the people I've influenced come to my defense. Right? I get to see that I am making an impact in others by stepping out and being the one to give a voice to certain things that they now come back and say, hey, wait a second. And so, I don't know. I feel like I have to be out there.
Well, you have a tribe of people that kind of rely on you now, right?
Yeah, exactly.
It's funny because Couri and I took a little break in July or June or July, right around there.
Tuesday.
It was Tuesday. It was Tuesday. We took a break on Tuesday. But we had so many people that said, we miss you guys. You guys aren't everywhere. Right. Mm-hmm. And it's funny because even though we are everywhere, we're not like busy all the time everywhere. It's just how we do our content. But I think it's interesting that you call that out, because as the leader of the tribe that you've created, there's a responsibility to be there for your people as well.
Right.
And since you're there for your people, they're there for you if you need them to be, right?
Yes, absolutely.
So that's huge. Yeah. Oh my gosh. So many things I want to talk about. So many things. All right. So let's look at, what's your favorite of the 7 steps that you teach people that you actually see the light bulb go off when you're teaching that step?
The alter ego.
Yeah.
That's like my favorite thing.
Nice.
Because people really get to create their avatar. They get to create, you can be as creative as you want to be in that moment. And it gives them like the freedom to do something differently. So I love helping people like really design their alter ego and stepping into that.
Love it. All right. So hindsight, we all know hindsight's 2020. If we had it, we could be perfect, but obviously we don't always get that. But our goal is, by having you here, to gain a little bit of your hindsight, to give our listeners clear foresight. And so for that today, my question is about your steps and about your process that you went through from being, not having audacious confidence to having it and then teaching it, and understanding the alter ego and how that can truly set people up for a new direction in their own confidence. Like what's been that like one thing that you're like, gosh, if I had only known this a couple of years sooner, I could be farther along. Or if I could have only taught this to my client a couple of years ago, they would be so far along. Like what's that kind of piece there?
So I'm glad you said that, because just recently I was thinking about this myself about, man, I wish I had done this a lot earlier in my life. And I think young people need to do these things. And that is the work that I do now with assessment tools. So before I coach anybody, whether it's in the corporate space, working with leaders and working with teams, or if it's individuals, I run them through assessments, certain types of assessments. And the reason I do the assessments that I do is because there's so much richness and depth in the results, like what comes out of those assessments for people, and allowing them to release so many negative thoughts about themselves that they had or that they grew up hearing. Albert Einstein said, everyone's a genius, but if you judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree, it will live its entire life believing it's stupid. That was my experience. Like I kept trying to be something that I was not. And I kept feeling like, what is wrong with me? How can I not do the same things my sister can do, or do what seems to come easily for other people? And what is, I grew up and I lived this, what is wrong with me for so long, until I started taking these assessments and realizing what was right with me. Mm-hmm. And the other stuff is just not in my wheelhouse. Stop trying to do things that you weren't wired to do. The brain is so fascinating to me. And some of these things, it's in your DNA, it's in your wiring. And some of these things is learned behavior. And so if the things that you're wired to do and be, what that is, those are your superpowers. That's your zone of genius. And then the other things that you've learned, you can reframe, you can relearn, you can unlearn, there's the different ways to tackle those things. And so out of the 7 steps, so that's step 1, know yourself and love yourself, is really understanding who you are at a cellular level, we call it brain science, but understanding those things that make who you are, and then being able to really embrace those things. So that's what I wish I knew long time ago. So I put my kids through assessments all the time. I'm like, you guys got to do it. You got to do it.
You're like, don't listen to me. Just do this assessment.
Yeah, do the assessment and then listen to what they tell you to do. It'll be fine. Yeah. No, I love it. I know there's people listening. They're like, oh my gosh, I want to be that way. And anybody like in any type of visible role, it doesn't necessarily have to be online, but in leadership, like they need your process. I just go back to even before Couri and I got in this online space, we did stuff in person, or just are going back career wise. It would have been so much better to learn your process than try to figure it out yourself. So that's why you have to have a coach, right? So I know there's people out there like, how do they get involved with you, and what are you working on now? And how do we help people get confident?
Yeah. So listen, the easiest way to connect with me, and you talked about this, Couri, about being everywhere, right? So I have a site, it's called Alicia360.com. So if they go to my 360 site, they can connect with me on all social media. They can look me up. I think there's a drop down menu that you can, like, when you hit contact, you can WhatsApp me, you can book time on my calendar. You can, like everything is just right in that one space. So you can just click on things. And even if you go to there's like an Audacious Confidence link that they can actually watch, go through the 7 steps and just watch what all the 7 steps are. And then they can just call me or text me or email me, send out a bat signal, whatever it is. It's like,
Love it. And they can see you in your superhero costume.
And they can see me in my superhero and my Wonder Woman costume.
Picture themselves when they think about their alter ego, which superhero they might be to gain that confidence. So Alicia, you're amazing. I love what you do. Thank you so much for sharing it with us today. And we'll be in touch again soon.
Yeah, it's my absolute pleasure. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, Ron, what's going on? Another opportunity to talk about visibility, but more specifically to online events. So I know you and we stopped the recording. We were able to talk to Marie more, and I could see a partnership there in the future. But first of all, before we get too far ahead of ourselves, we got to have a takeaway or two, as I'm sure you've got them.
Two. All right. Know your strength. Have the right people surrounding you. Right? Like we've said that multiple times. She touched on it today. Super, super important to know what you're good at and where you need help and the people that you need to bring on board to help you do that. That's one. The other one is reuse your content. Reuse it. Calendar, record, reuse. That easy.
Yes, definitely. And to add on to what I loved about that, sharing the strengths, like knowing your strengths, right? I loved how she shares the strengths with clients. Like graphics, and we've had this conversation with clients, like graphics, great, grammar be hard, right?
Grammar be hard.
And I love that. And so it's just a reminder, like just share your strengths, share, they came on board with you. So share with it to move forward. But more importantly, something we teach and talk about with everyone with any kind of podcast or growth that they want, consistency is key. So be consistent with where you want to be, find it, then figure out a way to get consistent and then take the action. But consistency is key to growth. And I love that Marie, talked about it. So, all right, everyone. Thank you so much. We will talk to you again soon.
Bye, guys.
Did you know that Hindsight Hacking Media Agency, we do all things podcast from launch? If you're already doing 10,000 downloads in a week, we handle everything. All you have to do, record it, and forget it.
Guys, if you're launching a podcast, get with these guys. I could not honestly hit the charts without them.
I'm not getting paid for this, but working with both of you, the professionalism and the system that you guys had to launch the podcast, you guys killed it.
We want to help the impactors create an impact by just letting you be you and not worry about all this other crazy stuff. Connect with us. All the links will be in the show notes. See you next time. Go create an impact.